Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? So delighted to be here with you. Yeah, good morning. Hi. So let's start with meditation so that we all get into the same space. So let's take our attention inside, down below the belly button. As time goes on, it's even more and more important that we know how to ground ourselves so that we can ground everybody around us and begin every conversation from a healthy perspective. So, taking your attention below your belly button, and right off the bat, let's run white light through our entire being, starting with our etheric body and through our physical body. And it can help to imagine that every cell in our body is breathing and that it's sort of like a giant sponge embracing this white light. And with each out breath, all the toxins are being released. And with each in breath, we are completely purifying every part of ourselves as we become this white light. And we understand that because of our ability to practice, we have a choice about what state we magnetize to ourselves, within ourselves. So, holding our attention below the belly button in the abdominal chakra, we feel ourselves ground into our body. And now feel for the stillness in between the breaths in this abdominal energy center, so that all our energy is draining down from between our ears into this center. And as we breathe, we can literally feel ourselves stabilize. And now take your attention to your tailbone, the tip of the tailbone in the back of our body. And as you breathe into your tailbone, you may be able to feel the subtle motion of the tip of the tailbone moving backwards on the in breath and forwards on the out breath. Again, feeling what it is to be grounded, having our energy low in our body. Allowing different parts of our being to be informed about what it is to be on the earth and of the earth. Still running this precious white light through our entire being. Allowing any darkness to fall away through our mind, body, and spirit. As we open and embrace the light. Now gently allow your attention to come up to the solar plexus. Breathing deeply into this center and feeling for the back behind the rib cage. Releasing all through this center. Just allowing any tension or old drama to fall away. Allowing ourselves to deeply relax. Coming into a state of peace. Again, feeling for the stillness between the breaths and the solar plexus. When you're ready, gently take your attention to your heart center, right in the middle of your chest. Breathe deeply into this center. Again, feeling for the stillness in between the breaths. As breath by breath, we absorb the white light and come into peace within ourselves. As you're ready, gently allow your attention to rise up to the high heart. The high heart is just behind the sternum, below the sternal notch, that bony place at the base of our throat. Just below there is the high heart. Take your attention there. This is the energy center that unifies the third eye and the heart. This is the energy center where we cultivate true wisdom. And breathing in the white light. Releasing anything within you that doesn't serve the highest best. Feeling for the stillness between the breaths. This is the entrance into sacred space, is stillness. Feeling into the throat center. clearing everything with our breath and the white light. When you're ready, gently guide your attention through the roof of your mouth to the third eye. Behind and between your eyebrows, in the center of your head. Now feel into the dynamic movement of our energetic system with each and every breath. And we'll sit in this awareness for a few minutes. And now, while holding your attention inside, gently open your eyes and allow yourself to be two places at once. We're so delighted to be with you today. We live in interesting times. Our job remains the same. No matter what happens or where we find ourselves, our job is to radiate the highest best that's available for a human being, both for ourselves and every person we meet. The only solution to our pain is our inner work. And we can see the results of people who are incapable of that work around us on a daily basis, reminding us that we have to keep at it. How may we serve this morning? It's so wonderful to experience the deep resonance that everyone in this group has cultivated. It feels so beautiful to be with you in this time and place, and to see and feel the quality of our work and understand that we have little control over the outer world. And people who don't make an effort to understand themselves and live in harmony with the forces around us will be buffeted by whatever the strongest energy is in the moment. And that it's almost like natural law that a narcissist who feels like they're losing control of the narrative would do something big and bold to reassert dominance. We're lucky that this time it wasn't aimed at us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so grateful that we have our practice and our inner work to sustain us, because I am fearful of what Iran's retaliation will be. I just, it's hard to keep the faith.
Well, from our perspective, it's becoming increasingly clear that the only faith we can keep is our own.
Right.
And that having that, we can be secure that our efforts have really changed the quality of our own lives. And we can be grateful for that because we're living from a place in ourselves of clarity and peace. And so, whatever happens around us, we don't have to sacrifice our clarity and peace for more than a few moments until we realize that our breath has gone off center and we restabilize. We always have access to white light. We always have access to our own stillness between the breaths. These are becoming our major friends in every challenge. And to have this inner stability is it's such a beautiful gift. It's the greatest gift that life could have given us. It's a way to stabilize ourselves regardless of what is going on, a way to connect to ultimate reality regardless of what is going on, so that we never lose sight of our source. And in that contact, there is a security. Certainly, the first security is that everything will change, and understanding that everything will change. Deepens our commitment to our practice, because it's what we have that stabilizes us in the face of everything.
Given the world circumstances, I'm feeling like our practice is my lifeboat, and
Yes.
I'm very grateful for that.
So yes, we're in total agreement and experience the same. You know, it's and you know, having the continual experience of merging our sensitivity with life itself is preparation for the ultimate merging of our sensitivity to and with life itself. And we're becoming that with every breath. The greatest curse for any human being is to feel separate from God. And the greatest blessing is to be in union. Having understood that that's the real the real truth of the matter, life becomes very simple. So we'll update you with the astrology of the moment.
Thank you.
So Mars, the planet of war, for some months was in Cancer, where Mars is debilitated. Because Cancer is ruled by Moon, and Moon has a lot to do with peace and quiet. And so Mars is very uncomfortable there, and it doesn't work at all. And so in the last week or so, it's been in Leo the lion, which is already hot. And Mars is hot too. So Mars entered. And it is in the house of the moon, which is called Maga, Magha. And the problem with MAGA is they forgot the H, which stands for humility. Maga is the house of the moon, which is represented by the symbol of the throne. It's called a palanquin. It's the throne that's carried around by 4 people with somebody sitting on a chair on top of this platform carried by 4 people. And so he who must not be named has his ascendant in that location. And so, of course, as he feels that he's losing control of those he wishes to dominate, he has to change the subject in a big way by hurting somebody else. And since this warlike energy has entered his environment, he feels like he must act on it. He has no choice. And that's how it is when you are at the mercy of the whims of the multiverse. As the planets move in the sky, you become a puppet of the planetary energies and a victim of your own unwork. And depending on how many people are in your orbit, they all experience the same. But as we address our own internal violence, which will happen as we begin to turn our energy inward, we will recognize our internal tendencies toward violence toward ourselves and the people we say we love. As we begin to withdraw our claws from outside ourselves and tune ourselves to ever higher frequencies, our own volatility becomes unacceptable, and we work very hard to rise above it, to recognize it before it takes over and influences our environment, and to immediately abort what happens if it gets away from us. Like, we get a lot faster at our damage control, and we get a lot better at taking responsibility when it gets away from us. And as that happens, we get a lot better at seeing other people doing the same, because as we begin to overcome our own tendencies toward violence, we can recognize that tendency in others and see it for what it is. We may most likely do nothing about it unless it ends up on us for some reason, or unless somebody asks our advice.
What does that mean, our inner violence?
Means our tendency to anger and abuse of ourselves and others. Until we defang ourselves, which interestingly increases our personal power enormously when we are no longer trying to control or mitigate or respond to our own anger when we turn, face it, embrace it, and change ourselves. Our personal power, that anger becomes our personal power. Not to be expressed as anger, but to be held as personal power, to really share our awareness with other people. That's what happens to that personal power. It's not that we lose our capacity or even desire for anger, but we have time and we live in a place in ourselves that has a higher motivation, say it that way. And what happens is that the moments when we have that experience get closer and closer together over time. It's not that none of us, we have that experience. And we may or may not recognize it in ourselves, but as we have that experience more and more often, we begin to claim it. Or it claims us. It's hard to say how that happens. And in a way, it doesn't matter what happens, is that our attention can be more and more on sacred space. You know how we talked this morning about sacred space being the space between the breaths, that stillness. As we learn to, first of all, experience that stillness in ourselves, we start to understand that that sacred space is the real communion. Sacred space is the sharing of oneness. Or wholeness is our communion with source energy and with each other. We're all grounded in sacred space. And you know, this stillness is completely dynamic. It's completely potent. So if we were to base communion and community on the shared sacred space, the space between the breaths, that's the essence we are trying to communicate. And in cultivating that awareness, we're cultivating the potential for life based in love in ourselves. And of course, a life based in love, or life that is lived from intentional sacred space, this is what we're really about. Cultivating that sacred space, becoming the union of that sacred space, which is a union with our own potency. That as we pay attention to it, grows. And this is the direction that humanity has to choose to survive. It's the only hope. It's the only answer. And it depends on every one of us doing our work, because we can't even talk about it until we have sacred space as our experience, the ground of our being. Anybody who's felt it for even a very small fraction of a second is changed by it forever. Once we know it, we know it, never to forget. And then we come back over and over and over in search of mastery of ourselves. So we were going to talk about the astrology and we got distracted. Good distraction. And the interesting thing about Mars is that it has come into Cancer, but at the same time that Mars has come into into Leo, sorry. Leo is the sign ruled by the sun. Leo is the lion who always has the answers. And, the sun, everything revolves around the sun. So that's Leo, and that's where Mars is. But at the same time that Mars has come into Leo, Ketu, which moves backwards across from Rahu, Ketu is the planet of moksha, or spiritual enlightenment. Ketu has also moved into Leo, but from the opposite end, because Ketu moves backwards. So when it enters a sign, it enters from 30 degrees and starts to move backwards. So we have Mars is, I think, about 4 degrees now, and K2 is at 28 degrees. So they're very far apart. But they're both fiery energies. K2 is not passive. And K2's volatile, as is Mars. And as they get closer together, it's not a happy combination. And they meet. I don't quote me on this, but I would say they will meet around July 21st, 22nd. And that's a good, those 2 days are good times to be quiet. Yes.
Well, that just happens to be around our birthday.
Yes, it does. And understand this conjunction is happening in the whole world.
Mhm.
So we would like to say that things are going to get more peaceful, but that's not what the stars are pointing to.
Well, I am finding this discussion very uplifting in a way. I think it's reminding us what's important, and the possibility of evolution, an evolutionary shift potential.
Yes, we have to make the evolutionary shift within ourselves.
Yes.
And as we make that evolutionary shift within ourselves, every life that our life touches will be impacted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That part is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And we can only assume that that impact will be for the better,
Mm-hmm.
because has not sacred space changed each of us forever?
Yeah.
In a good way. I mean, our whole lives are, I mean, the minimum we could say is that our whole lives are happier. That's the minimum we could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, the word consciousness is begging to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we, you know, make these what feel like incremental evolutionary leaps, we have a different life. We attract different things. We have different thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
We behave in different ways, and the people around us also. And the life we get to live is it shifts in quantum ways without us exactly acting to make it happen.
Right. Right.
And it's even more palpable as we age,
Mm-hmm.
partly because we have more energy to focus inward,
Mm-hmm.
more time.
Well, I must,
Go ahead.
I just must say during this time, which is just pretty dang extreme, I'm going to rewrite my notes here and set up to just remember what we are talking about here today and bring it into each day, because it's that important.
Yes.
It really is.
This is the most important thing we've ever done in our lives.
Kind of feels it. And I'm pretty emotional about it. As far as what's going on.
Well, yeah, we're really lucky. We have a choice.
Uh-huh.
We have a choice. We don't have to sit here and wring our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can actively engage ourselves and move deeper.
Yeah, so I'm really noticing with this conversation, it's really important. I'm sure glad you came on today. I was going, are we, aren't we, are we, are we need you.
Oh, yeah. I I don't know what I was thinking yesterday, but I I meant to send everything out way earlier.
Well, it worked out.
I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to send it out yesterday.
Well, I'm glad you're here and glad to see everyone smiling.
Yeah, in case that ever happens again, we don't change the login from week to week. So, last week's will work just as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So everybody knows that.
I just wanted to make a comment about the conversation this morning. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And it wouldn't happen if you guys didn't come. So,
Lucky us. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
oh, you're so welcome. So welcome. Hmm. Yeah, lucky us. Yes.
I just was mulling over the stillness and movement and how to bring stillness into movement. I mean, I practiced Tai Chi for a few years and that did it. Um, but that's still very inward, I mean, it's still very personal. Um, and bringing that into the outer world when everything's in harmony, I can feel it. But as soon as things get wonky, it I don't know, it seems really like shy.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to do anything to bring it into the outer world. The more we cultivate it in ourselves, the more it radiates out of us. And so it's not that anything is required except that inner cultivation. There is no, anything else sort of becomes ego very quickly. So we just continuously cultivate our own inner. And it as we evolve, it speaks for itself. We don't ever need to worry about speaking it or being it. We just keep doing it. And as we keep doing it, we discover it's actually doing us. And then, so it's never like, okay, now it's time to be out there with it. It's not like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just do our work.
Yeah, and the challenges come in and we meaning me deal with them as best as we can and allow as much as we can, and that feeling that space and the breath is always helpful.
Yes, and the more we focus our attention on it, the more it's not inert. It is very, very potent. And so the more attention we put on it, the more it becomes the ground of our being. And the more it becomes the ground of our being, um, the easier it is to live from that. It's in the beginning, it's a continuous excavation to discover this part of ourselves. And over time, this sacred space becomes more and more accessible until we really do discover that it's between the breaths. And then it's as accessible as our breath. We breathe, we feel for sacred space. We are that sacred space. That's one action. And it feels timeless when it happens, because when we're in sacred space, we're suddenly out of time. We're in sacred space. And in sacred space, time and space itself are suspended. And then we're outside of our language, because our language actually creates separation in every word. We use language to create separation around our experience so that we can communicate. And as soon as we get beyond time and space, our language never, it doesn't include that, because it's, we get beyond 3 dimensions when we get into sacred space. I'm going to tell you an important conversation that I had with a guide some years ago, maybe not that long ago, I don't remember. Time and space again. But I was talking to them about union and how I really, really wanted to be in union. And they said, they were kind of joking, but they said, you have to die for that to happen. They said it very lightly. And at the time, it didn't really land. And then I realized that this body can experience sacred space, but really living in sacred space is the dissolution of the body. When there's nothing but breath, there's sacred space. So it's like this giant koan. You know, a koan is a concept that will drive our spiritual practice to try to sort it out. Until we understand that the only answer is in surrender, completely letting go of any idea of having any answer. And then we're in sacred space. Well, we'll share one other thing, and that is when we do let go of our mind for even a second, it is such a relief to not be trying to figure it out for at least a minute. Just let go of that and be. Letting go of the need to know. And a lot of the times we spend our time thinking about things that are beyond our pay grade. You know, that we really have no control over. And so to just sit back and admit that we have no control, and that really, for most of us at this stage of our lives, we're for the most part observers anyway. And that over and over, the most profound action we can have is to dedicate ourselves to our own evolution. Because in doing that, we are informing every person that our life touches. In some way, if it's only our energetic presence, which is what we are actually changing when we sit and do our work every single day, our energetic presence becomes more and more the potency which we speak about. This connection to sacred space. Does this make sense? Oh, good. Yeah. And to recognize that that potency is between every breath that we take is to acknowledge that we have instant access to our own divinity. What else?
Well, I just want to say thank you because I lost the distinction between my practice and where my attention should be, because I was really focusing on how hopeless and helpless I am concerning the cruelty and fascism in the world today. And really, it really doesn't have anything to do with me.
That's the truth of it.
Yeah, it's just really, my work is in inner work, and that's where my attention should be. And that's where I think I can do the most good in my life.
And also in every life that your life touches. Because if we don't address the fascism and cruelty that's within ourselves,
Yeah.
then calling it out outside of ourselves is completely useless.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so, so welcome. Thank you for calling it out. I mean, it's easy to get, we all get confused every day. Hopeless and helpless. That's how they want us to feel. So that we stop calling it out.
Well, I expected that he was going to do something dramatic because of his humiliating parade. So I knew he was going to have to do something to flex his little baby muscles. And I just, it just pisses me off, you know. It's hard to stay focused on my spiritual work when some jackass is screwing up the whole planet. But again, I have to come back to my work and my focus.
Well, the guides keep saying we have to see what we don't want to choose what we do. And
Say that again?
we have to see what we don't want to choose what we do want.
Uh-huh.
And so we have to see the cruelty as a human race. We have to see the cruelty that we're inflicting on the planet and each other. But really, what we've done to the planet is so horrific.
Yeah.
And, what we're doing to each other is, I mean, it's unbelievably brutal. So all we can do is stop doing that to ourselves and everybody around us and do our best. And in trying to do that, we understand exactly how hard it is. And our our best efforts, the most important thing is that our efforts are rewarded in this life here and now. As we do the work, we get happier. And that is undeniable. And really, that's the whole point. That's the whole point, is that we have a life that's worth living because we are living in quality inside and around ourselves. We're demanding that of ourselves, and it's happening with everyone around us at the same time. Yes.
I just wanted to say that just rang a bell for me is that there's a patriarchy that's in me because it's how I was raised and it's what we're swimming in, you know. And I really feel like so that's the work that I can do is on that patriarchy that is in me. Because I feel like that's what's happening now. The patriarchs are duking it out, you know, and it's on a wide scale. It's on our world. This is the world. But I can deal with the patriarchy in me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're dismantling our own patriarchy so that we can walk hand in hand with all those parts of ourselves. And in conquering ourselves, we have conquered the world. So We're coming to the end. Let's take a few minutes and go back into sacred space. Thank you so much for being here today. It's just such a joy to be with you. Mm. Mm. So we'll say goodbye for now. Till next time, so much love. Mm.